Hi everyone. Today we're going to take a deeper look at Unit 2, Day 5 using the interpretation tool. Last video, we were specifically looking at the interpretation tool and the reasons behind it, right? Its rationale. And then we look at the different historical thinking strategies, and I explained why I didn't use the word skill, they didn't use the word skills, and questions that you should be able to answer as you work through that. In this video, we're going to actually model the beginning of the interpretation tool. And we're going to do that with a source called Jefferson's Vision of American Democracy. Now remember, we're looking at historical thinking strategies that we spoke about last video. Okay, we're going to look at the beginning, which in last video I explained are kind of like the top layer that you're going to need in addition to other strategies. So let's see, this is from the actual lesson in Unit 2, Day 5. Okay, let's see the directions. What do they want us to do? We will read excerpt on President Thomas Jefferson's Vision of American Democracy to answer historical thinking questions from the interpretation tool. So they took pieces of the tool out, and that's why I think this is a good way to think about the tool. It's Jefferson's Vision of American Democracy. I always like to look at the question before I go further. Notice there's going to be a place to answer the text. Okay, my pen is waiting over there. That's the cursor. What is the account, date, and origin of the document? So account, date, origin of the document, if we go back here, that is identifying the account. That is the first possible skill. Why are we using that strategy? That's what they want to know. Your strategy, because we're going to, notice it says title, context, and citation. That's what they gave us. Where does this come from? Where am I going? So where does this come from? It says Jefferson's Vision of American Democracy. Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States, serving from 1787 to 1801. He gave this speech, excerpted, meaning it's not the whole thing, it's a piece of it. That's what that word excerpt means. Excerpted on March 9th, 1797, the day of his inauguration. That's when he was sworn in as president. Okay, now they're noting, it should be noted, Jefferson owned enslaved people, and then when he refers to men, he's referring to white men. He doesn't even put women into the equation. Now, what is the account, date, and origin of the document? So the account, it's Jefferson's inauguration or his inaugural address. That's the speech the president gives after he takes the oath. Okay. On March 9th, 1787 is the day he became president. 1797. We didn't have a country in 1787. And origin, Case Jefferson was giving a speech now that he became president. Okay, now we have to actually look at this excerpt, this piece of the speech. So it says, how might time and place of the document's creation play a role in how you understand it? Meaning, don't look at it from today's lens. Look at it from a different lens. So now if we look in there, time and place, that's contextualization. What is going on? What is the backstory? And there's a separate video on contextualization. Go back and find that I made. How might the time and place of a document's creation play a role in how you understand it? Meaning, what was going on then that helps you figure things out now? So we have to think about what was going on then. So maybe if we listen to what Jefferson's saying, that may give us a hint about what was going on then. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's an ellipses. That means it's a continuation. All two will bear in mind the sacred or very almost holy principle, statement of belief, that through the will of the majority is in all cases to prevail, or meaning that it will last and stay around, be there for a long time. To be rightful must be reasonable, that if it's right, I know that the language is a little hard, it has to be reasonable, it has to make sense. That the minority possesses their equal rights, which equal law must protect, and to violate it would be oppression. To oppress someone is to put it down. And I'm highlighting it here because oppression, it's making a little alarm bell in my head. What was going on before Jefferson became president? Were people oppressed? Yes, people who supported Jefferson. It was during the Alien and Sedition Acts. They weren't able to speak out. If they did, they went to jail or they got fined. So let's see what he's talking about. So time and place of creation, I'm writing down because I just remembered it's after the Alien and Sedition Acts, which limited freedom of speech and press, as well as rights of Jefferson. Sometimes auto stress doesn't work. here. Let us then, fellow citizens, unite with one heart and one mind. Okay, we have to unite the country. Let us restore social intercourse. I know you're all snickering and giggling whenever my students see this word the first time, but if you look down the bottom of the glossary, it means communication. It's how something communicates with something else. By the way, real definition. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. Let us restore to social intercourse that harmony and affection, meaning people should go together nicely and like each other, with which liberty and even life are but dreary things. Meaning things can be boring, but we need to get along. And let us reflect, having banished or pushed out of our land that religious intolerance which mankind so long bled and suffered. Meaning we threw out, remember, American Revolution, let's write this down. Okay, this came after the United States, I'm thinking out loud right now, was a new country having thrown out the British who took away their rights. They limited their freedom. And I'm not getting specific. They limited the colonists' freedoms, especially religion. This came as after, I'm going to add in Adams was president and the United States was a new country, having thrown out the British who took away their rights, having earlier thrown out the British who took away their rights. Okay, this is just kind of like my notes for me, but I think you're following my thoughts. I hope you are. If not, stop, rewind, go back. And then I think this is the quote everybody knows. Like if I ask my students when I review, this is the quote they know. We are all Republicans, you're all Federalists, meaning the country was very divided with the Alien and Sedition Acts and Adams, but no more. We are all either not just one party, we're all Republicans, which is Jefferson's party, or Federalists, which was Adams. I know indeed some honest men fear that a Republican, lowercase r, meaning that people having a voice in government, lowercase r, uppercase r is the party. Republican cannot be strong. Government cannot be strong, meaning a government where people have a voice can't be strong. This government is not strong enough. I believe, on the contrary, the strongest government on earth, meaning if people have a voice in government. So we gave time and place, we gave contextualization. What was going on before? Next question. What statement about the past did the author make that they support with evidence? So let's go back here. Statement the author makes. Let's go back here, identifying the author's claim. What is the author saying? What statement about the past does the author make that they support with evidence? So it's not just that we're looking for evidence, is what does the author say that back up with evidence? Okay, so let's see how Jefferson does that. Here, another interpretation skill. So it's 2 interpretation skill past the first layer. Let's see, it is proper you should understand that I deem, or like he says, that the essential principles of government, and consequently, meaning what follows, those which ought to shape its administration, meaning the way the government is run, equal and exact justice to all men, whatever their state of persuasion, religious or political, peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations. But let's go back here. The support of the state governments and all the rights. So what is the government? What does he say, Jefferson? Let's turn that into our real words. That's a big quote. Okay, he wants equal justice to all men, and he means citizens in that point, because only white male landowners were citizens at that point. So equal justice to all men, no matter their religious or political beliefs. I'm taking that from here. He also mentions commerce and honors friendship with all nations. Commerce, because if you remember, there were fights over the tariffs, but I wouldn't stress about that right now. He felt that state governments don't have, meaning they were saying that they weren't supported. State governments were limited, as you know, or should remember, under the Federalists. And Jefferson always talked about and always argued for, Jefferson always argued for state power as opposed to the Federalists who wanted increased national power. So he's backing up his statements about what he said before by talking about events from the past. That's what it means by backing up with evidence. Why? A jealous care, the right of the election of the people, meaning the people are elected. They have to be mild, safe, corrective abuses, which are lopped off. I think of like something being chopped off by the sword of revolution, where peaceable remedies are unprovided. Meaning, if we don't talk about this, if we don't solve this, if we don't include all people in government, we're going to have revolution. And remember, this is 1797, after the French Revolution. If we don't include all citizens, they will get frustrated and we may have revolution. That's his proof from France. But what's hard about this is that you kind of have to start remembering things based on what they say. But once you do, you're going to be like, oh, I know that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm showing it to you, because like it looks complicated, but once you start to think about it, you're going to get it. And it says the supremacy of the civil over the military. People should have a voice, not the army. Also, then you're going to start to see all the things that Jefferson believes in, like farming, and that commerce should be the handmaid of farming, meaning it shouldn't be as important. Remember, that's another Republican belief. And then all the different freedoms, religion, press, protection of habeas corpus, which is that when someone gets arrested, they have to be formally charged. You see the end? These principles form the bright constellation, meaning like bright stars, which has gone before us and guided our steps to the age of revolution and reformation. This is what has guided fair governments. Remember, we're an experiment. The United States is only the third president in the past. So this might seem like a lot for you to swallow, but this is a kind of micro or mini version on using some of the interpretation tool. Now, your teacher in this lesson did not give you short answer questions, but it's kind of like we read the document and we did the questions in between. We kind of did step 2 and 3 together. We looked at the beginning tools over here, as well as contextualization and the author's claim. It's a lot, but I think you get it. You might want to watch this again. We did a model here. In the next video, we're going to try to take apart how we can do this for a source on your own, what you need to do, how you need to do that. Again, if it's complicated, stop, watch, rewatch. But it's a lot of thinking about what you know already, connecting it to a source, if that works for you. And when you do that, you're acting like a historian. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you're a historian. What? Yep, you are. See you next clip.